Welcome back to the Profit Boss podcast. This is the very first time that I'm recording post-launching the first episode. And it was honestly such a lovely time to launch that out into the world, and so many lovely messages that I've received. So if that's one of you that's listening, thank you. I really do appreciate it. It's such a weird thing to think that that's live now and people are listening to it. And I feel like this is just the start. We're going to get better at this, and we're going to have more conversations about what it takes to be a successful business owner and build the business that you want to build, have conversations with business owners, and also talk things advisory, tax, finances, operations, and I'm really excited. So thank you for listening, and if you've sent me a message, thank you very much. It is all very much appreciated. I thought it was about time that I also jump on and talk about profits. This podcast is literally called The Profit Boss, so it would be a bit off-brand if I didn't come on here to educate and provide some more information about what this is. So over sort of a two-part series, I'm going to answer and educate about a few questions related to profits. This first part is going to be, what is profit? I think that's probably a really good place to start. Also, where do you go to find this for your business? How do you calculate this? And then thirdly, also why it matters. So I'm a big believer in it being important, but I'm going to tell you why that is. And then second part will come later, all about making the profit better and forecasting this and what it should be for your business. If you are a current business owner or an aspiring business owner and you want to build a sustainable business that pays you what you deserve to be paid, then this is the episode for you, because it really starts with your profits. And I just want you to remember that you deserve to make great profits in business. No matter what anyone's ever told you before, you are worthy of making fantastic profits in your business. So, what is profit? Profit is your business income. So everything that a client will pay you, your sale of goods, or if it's the provision of services, what you get paid as a total, that's your sales, minus all your business expenses. So whether that's your bank fees, your subscriptions, rent, you might pay wages, that's your business expenses. So it's made up of two parts: business income minus business expenses equals profit. And this is your bottom line. I think if you're reading an accounting textbook, they'd call it net profit. So if you hear someone throw that word around, it's really important to remember that is your bottom line net profit, income minus expenses. If you're a GST registered business, then this figure will be all excluding GST. So it won't necessarily be the sales as per what comes into your bank. It'll be the GST exclusive amount of that, and same with your expenses. So important to remember that your profit is excluding GST. But if you're not a business yet that's registered for GST, then it would be the gross figure that comes to your profit. For simplicity, I like to talk to my clients about profit being excluding the wages or drawings you pay yourself as an owner, and excluding also any super. It helps us understand what's left for you. Another important thing, if we're talking about tax, is that profit is a before tax figure. So when you are looking at what your business has made as a profit, it's important to think about, what tax am I going to be paying on that? Because it's the after-tax figure that's yours. For example, let's say you made $150,000 in a year in sales. This is what you've invoiced plus GST. So 150 is the GST exclusive amount. You've brought that into your business. And to make that money, you've had to spend $50,000 plus GST. So if we were going to go 150,000 minus the 50,000, we're left with a profit, a net profit bottom line of $100,000 per year. This $100,000 is a before tax figure. And so it's almost like saying I'm going to go and work a job and be paid a salary of $100,000. When we get paid wages, it's always a before tax figure. We're taxed, and what we're left to pay for our food, our fuel, our fun, holidays, renovations, houses, that profit after tax is ours to build the life that we want to build. And so that sort of probably leads me to my next prompt for you of where to find that profit figure for your business. It's really good data for you to look at to understand where you are currently in business, maybe where you've come from, and also where you've had highs and lows in this profit figure. And that's where I talk about our record keeping foundation. So an accountant or a bookkeeper will be able to help you with this in terms of having a really good strategy about how you're keeping records in your business. Most of my clients, I normally encourage to use something like Xero, and this allows you to then reconcile those transactions, reconcile your sales, reconcile your expenses, and literally just click a button to run a report called a profit and loss. If you don't have a fancy software like Xero, that is more than okay. You can also build this in, say, an Excel workbook, which I have plenty of templates like that to be able to calculate where you're sitting in your profit and loss. Now, this report is a really great starting point of understanding what the levers are in your business. I encourage you to look at this on a monthly basis to see where your high months are for sales and also where those expenses are hitting. Because your profit's made up of two figures, sales and expenses, you can also look through those expenses to really understand what's driving the profit. When you spend marketing, does that then translate to an increase the next month in sales? It does tell you a story, and it's just about sitting down and looking at the numbers to sort of go, oh, like, is that subscriptions too high? Am I not using that? Or has those, extra costs involved in my technology helped me actually be more efficient to make more sales in the months after? And I think something that I want to remind you is that the first time you look at your profit and loss, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. And it's just about making a simple practice, whether it be weekly or monthly, where you continue to actually run that report and get that data up to date to see the story of, well, I pulled this lever in my business. Did it translate to the actual figures that I was hoping to achieve by making that decision? One example I can think of is a tradie client that I have helped transition from a mix of working for someone else and also for himself. And we looked at how once he actually did take that leap into being self-employed full-time, how those hours worked directly correlated to an increase in sales. And so that's a pretty self-explanatory business, I suppose, in that the labor is an hourly rate, and then therefore you can charge what you actually are working, and that is more hours worked equals more sales. But I think it's still really important to cross-check that to go, well, 38-hour week was about this per week in sales. If I just pull a little lever to actually do 3 or 4 hours extra here and there, what does that actually translate to? And so I think you're probably sitting here going, yeah, I know I need to do this. If you're in business, it's probably common that you're told to look at your finances and not neglect that part of your business. Now, the reason it's so important to be looking at your profit and loss and understanding what your net profit is because this figure, your profit, that's yours. Your profit after tax is your take-home pay from your business. I am confident that you work tirelessly, you put all your efforts into your business, you give up your creativity, your spare time, your money to make your business flourish. And for something to be sustainable and profitable long-term, you really need to be focusing on building that profit figure so that you'll feel like it's all worth it. This profit after tax is your take home to cover things like your bills and your mortgage and your holidays. So it really is important that you build it to the level that you want for your life. And just as a pro tip, as a very, very general figure, you could probably say about 30% would be put aside for tax. So if that 100K profit we were talking about before, it's your before tax profit, we put 30 grand aside for tax, and it's the 70 grand that's left for you. And I want you to build a profit that would be like what you would earn if you were working for someone else. If you were going to put all this hard work into a job, what would they pay you? We want you to have a business that's operationally able to pay you eventually that rate and more. Another reason your profit is so important is it's the figure that banks will look at. So if you want to go buy a car or a house, that profit is your starting conversation of what you can afford to service in terms of taking on those bigger debts. And whilst I'm always happy to work with the banks to, put conversations together around why a profit might not be as high as what it needs to be, it is important that you still have plan of attack in place of how you'll get your profit up and make it, what you need to be able to live off. And finally, profits are also important if you're building a business that you've had the idea of maybe selling in the future. So when I help clients buy a business or sell a business, it is this profit figure that we look at. It is the one that we make a return on investment analysis on to make sure that the business is sustainable and it's providing that reward, again, for the risk, the money, the efforts you put into it. For example, you're probably not going to be able to sell a business that may not be making a profit because that incoming buyer will be thinking, well, what am I buying? Like what sort of return am I going to get for my investment for buying this business? So it's important to be able to build that up in a way that any incoming buyer could also take on the business and continue to be able to make the profits that you've built the business to be able to make. So this is very much part one, building the foundations of that conversation about profits. If anyone ever has any questions, of course, I am more than happy to help. I'm going to come back in your ears and have a chat at a future date, part two, profits. And that's going to be all things, what should your business profit be for your business and how to determine that, how to improve your profit. So I've got lots of ideas about the levers you can pull in terms of sales and expenses to improve your bottom line. And also, if you're a new business owner, I'm going to talk about forecasting and how to sort of make an estimate of where you're going to land based on the information you have at that very initial stage of your business. So I also do have a workbook that will be linked in the show notes. It is my Profit Power Hour workbook, and it's designed as a starting point to start doing some of these exercises, reviewing your figures, and also start doing some of that forecasting side. Thank you so much for listening. I will chat to you all again soon.